Ladies and gentlemen, you great people, XRP is about to hit a new all-time high. Yes, that's why I'm so happy. You may have seen that XRP is up today. It has been going up and down, but I think this is the beginning of something truly amazing, and I'll explain why I think that based on what's happening in the markets right now. And first, I want to share some very important news with you all. In case you didn't know, the Federal Reserve is made up of 7 governors. One of them recently announced their resignation, and Trump just named the new candidate to replace them. Will be made public this week. In case you didn't already know, at the Federal Reserve, the rates of 2 leaders want to go down. As soon as Trump names the next Fed governor, there will be 3 in total. If most Fed governors want to cut interest rates, rates will be cut right away. We're pretty sure to get 3 out of 7. With these new changes, we might even see 4 out of 7, which is what we'll talk about in today's video. If this does happen in September, which is becoming more and more likely, there will be a lot of money coming into the markets. And what you're seeing now for XRP will look like a small drop in the ocean compared to the tsunami that will hit. That's cool, and this is the first step forward that we should be happy about. Trump is not only putting more pressure on the Federal Reserve, but he is also speaking out against crypto. Some people in the US government, like Elizabeth Warren, are losers. It's pretty funny. Trump has been having a hard time getting crypto laws and other laws passed because of these people. He's naturally very angry at Elizabeth Warren, the Fed, for not cutting interest rates, and other people for this reason. He's going to keep fighting. That guy is like a bulldog in there, totally destroying the field right now. There are some good things going on, but that doesn't mean everything is perfect. There are some possible red flags on the horizon right now. A lot of people have said that Trump is going to put more tariffs on goods or make a move with India soon. He went into more detail about that comment today, saying that he will be significantly raising the tariff that India pays. To the US right now, this is because India is buying oil from Russia. He said that he didn't agree with that and that India was giving Russia strength and backing by doing that. Trump didn't like that. India is doing this because, of course, they want cheap oil, which Russia can give them. But, you know, the US thinks this is bad for them, so they're putting more pressure on where they can. I said on Saturday that this is exactly how things would go. I said either tariffs or sanctions, with sanctions being less likely than tariffs. Very likely, as we've seen over the last few months, and sure enough, here it is. We don't know exactly how much he plans to raise the tariffs yet, but based on what just happened with tariffs between Canada and the US, I don't think this is something that should worry people too much. It may cause some short-term price changes. We might go down a little in the short term, but compared to other news like the Fed governor and the Federal Reserve lowering interest rates, I don't think this is the most important thing. Another thing that might be a little worrying, depending on how you look at it, is what the world's central banks are doing right now. In the second quarter of 2025, they bought an extra 166.25 tons of gold, which is 41% more than the average quarterly purchase between 2010 and 2021. This also brings the total amount bought in the first half of 2025 to 415 tons. It's the third biggest H1 on record. Only 2023, 2024, and 2022 are bigger. There will likely be a lot of demand. 95% of central banks think that the world's gold stocks will grow over the next 12 months. This means that central banks are still buying gold. What does this mean? I like to say, don't look at what the bankers, big hedge funds, and other institutions say. Look at what they do. What we do know is that gold is a safe. So if you think your country's dollar is going to lose value, gold is the next best thing, right? When you think the dollar will lose value, you want to keep gold because it's a great way to protect yourself from inflation. That's pretty much what gold is for. In other words, what the banks are saying here applies all over the world, not just in the US. Is that okay? Money is going to keep being printed. It looks like the government will keep spending more. What does this mean for crypto? It means something very important. If the M2 quantity goes up, we know what will happen. Cryptocurrency prices are 90% linked to M2 prices. The dollar will likely lose value, making more money available in the markets, and M2 will go up. This means that Bitcoin and XRP will likely have a lot more room to grow as well. Additionally, I would like to point out that central banks have been buying a lot of gold over the last few years, as you can see on this screen. This has been happening even during the bear market, right? Just because they're buying a lot of gold right now doesn't mean that this bull run will last forever. This is something that banks like to do in both bull and bear markets, even when they're tightening money. This is only one small thing to think about. But yes, the bull run did begin in 2024. That's when we set new records for the amount of gold held by central banks around the world. As you can see, this is a very big quarter that has only been topped by 2 or 3 other years in history. history, right? That's a pretty important thing. It looks like this trend will keep going. They are betting that the US dollar will keep losing value. So you're probably thinking what the all-time high for XRP is. Levi, what do you mean? I'll talk about that now. Thanks for waiting, but I promise that everything I've said is important to the price of XRP. First, something I always talk about in the beginning right now. XRP is oversold, and it has been oversold for a few days now. Maybe we've been overpriced for a week, and now we're starting to see some good news. This means we're probably ready to start moving up now. I'd like to tell you that we saw something like this before right here. In the area where my mouse is on June 23rd, we were oversold, and then very quickly after, we were overbought. During this time, however, prices went up by seriously crazy amounts. Over the course of a month, the price went from $1.90 to $3.66, almost doubling. This isn't likely to happen again, though. Now that things are going up again, one really important thing has taken place here. From this point on, you'll see. We had a low point and then a very high point. We hit a low point, but now we're getting better and rising again. You can see that our most recent low point was 273, which is a lot more than our previous lowest point of $1.90. More highs and more lows. It's becoming more likely that we will break an old all-time high.